voting once that's done.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about why mountain
protests when India tries to protect its farmers. From Nepal to Morocco, Gen Z protests are raging on. We decode right here for you what is behind the violent youth uprising and are there any lessons for India?
And at least 4 to 5 fighter aircraft, most likely F-16, because that base happened to be F-16, which would have been under maintenance that time. Along with that, one SAM system, which has been destroyed.
IAF chief tells the world and Pakistan just how much destruction did India cause during Operation Sindoor. IAF chief says the Operation Sindoor was a demonstration of India's air power. And this is the India Sense story right here for you viewers. Perplexity AI CEO becomes India's youngest billionaire, joins the billionaire club. The Chennai boy Arvind breaks the India billionaire record. Viewers, our big story this week. What's happening in Pakistan? Last month, the Pakistani military bombed its own people in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, killing 30 civilians, which included women and children. Now there are massive protests in Pakistan-Occupied Kashmir, and people have been killed as well when they were revolting against the repression of the Pakistani army. Now, in fact, a big believer in internationalizing conflicts, the generals of the Pakistani army are now dreading what's likely to happen next. The PoK diaspora community is likely to hold protests across the US, Europe and other parts of the world, documenting the kind of excesses that the Pakistani army has been committing. The protests this week in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir weren't the first in the region. They have been seeing repeated unrest due to continued problems that have been there because of neglect and because of systemic corruption. In fact, in 2023, Pakistan increased the rates of electricity, withdrew subsidies on wheat, and people were up in arms. They were on the streets. But that was also brutally crushed by force by the Pakistani military. Prices have been soaring, people don't have jobs, there is no development, and there is massive corruption. Viewers, there's a reason why a large part of the boat casualty victims due to overcrowding during attempted and failed migrations actually are residents of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, because they have absolutely nothing else to look forward to. Prices of essentials are now out of reach, and demography has been completely altered to serve the interests of the Punjabi generals of the Pakistani army. Now, for India, this has massive ramifications. First and foremost, it means we need to keep a very tight vigil on what is happening. We need to be prepared for these protests to possibly gain momentum as well and probably become much bigger. Listen in to what India's spokesperson had to say about these protests, and then we come back and tell you why this is a pattern and not an isolated instance.
We have seen reports on protests in several areas of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, including brutalities by Pakistani forces on innocent civilians. We believe that it is a natural consequence of Pakistan's oppressive approach and systemic plundering of resources from these territories, which remain under its forcible and illegal occupation. Pakistan must be held accountable for its horrific human rights violations.
There is now a clear pattern. There is Balochistan, there is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and there is now Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. What next is the question. Well, Asim Munir will do well to stop whining and dining with Donald Trump and focus more on fixing his country. And for starters, he needs to stop bombing his own people and then get in some fixes. Let's get you an important voice to talk more on how this is likely to pan out as far as India is concerned. What will be the ramifications and how should India be preparing for this? Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, who's former Consul General to Karachi, is joining me on the broadcast. Let me start by asking you, Ambassador Dogra, in terms of the possibility of the Pakistani military being able to control these protests, because this is not an isolated instance. This has not been triggered by something immediate. this is nothing but a pent-up frustration of people seeing nothing, absolutely nothing that's working out for them, and the military adding to their woes?
Well, Pakistan has a lot of security forces deployed in the area, and they are not hesitating to shoot directly at people. That's why so many have been killed. So I don't rule out that the rule of the rod will prevail. But the fact is that the delegation that Pakistan had sent to PoK has failed in its mission. The latest reports are that the residents there, or the protesters and their leaders, are not convinced that the Pakistani side is sincere. Basically, to answer the bigger question, this is not a one-off. This protest has been going on time and again for the last 2 years.
Yes.
And people have been killed in 2 other protests, similar protests, but this is the biggest of all. And this is really a grassroots protest because the reasons are many. And reasons are really a combination of apathy by the central government of Pakistan, which has got this control over PoK, the discrimination by the Punjabi settlers there, and the loot by both the officers of the Punjabi Pakistan and also by the Punjabi settlers there, who really are astonishing in number. The total population of PoK, not including Gilgit and Baltistan, is about 4 million plus, out of which the Punjabis account for over 2 million people. That means the demography of PoK has been changed, and yet there are huge protests.
What you are saying is 50% of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir now accounts for Punjabis. Now, this is not an isolated instance. There are protests happening across Pakistan. You take Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, you take Balochistan, now you take Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Where is this headed?
Well, to all practical purposes, they are not connected. The protests are not only in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but also in Balochistan. And they are much more intense and long-term in their sort of struggle against Pakistan. PoK is much smaller in terms of population in comparison to the other two, and it is at a much weaker wicket. Just to give you one statistic, out of 4 million plus population, there are only 5,000 income taxpayers. And I don't have the exact data, but I'm sure those 5,000 will also be the Punjabi settlers. As for the Kashmiris, if you look at the clothes of the protesters, it is pitiable because they obviously seem to be in extreme poverty. And it is what they see from Jammu and Kashmir and people, lifestyle of people there, the extremely wealthy lifestyle in comparison, that must be adding to their resentment. And that must be the reason why they would much rather merge with India, as they should, than live under the gunfire of Pakistani army.
All right, I'm going to leave it there, Ambassador Dogra. Thanks much for speaking to me. At the end of the day, India is keeping a very close watch on how things are unraveling, and rather quickly, for Asim Munir in Pakistan. First wide angle story on the show. Well, it will be 2 years since the Gaza war has been raging, viewers, triggered by Hamas's hideous attack on Israel in 2023, 7th of October. And it seems Trump has a solution. Or well, maybe not, who knows. But dubbing it as one of the greatest days ever in civilization, Donald Trump laid out a comprehensive 20-point proposal to end the war in Gaza. It sounded less like a diplomatic framework, more like the wish list of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. And soon there were reports circling about more than one formula being shown to more than one party. And suddenly you realize things are not looking the way they were. This report tells you why Gaza Peace Plan may or may not actually fructify. And what falls apart is not just the peace framework, but also Donald Trump's Nobel ambitions. Take a look.
A deal that promises peace in Gaza, a blueprint for stability in the Middle East. Sounds too good to be true? That's what US President Donald Trump promised this week with his 20-point framework. A proposal embraced by Israel and endorsed by key Arab nations, including Qatar and the UAE. Beneath the grand announcement, the deal is fragile. Hamas has yet to approve it, required to disarm and release all 48 hostages, of which only 20 are still alive, and relinquish any role in Gaza's future. Israel, meanwhile, won last-minute changes on troop withdrawals and Hamas disarmament, made without the knowledge of the Arab nations that endorsed the plan. Yet Washington is pushing Israel to make certain compromises. The US proposed deal allows for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood.
Hamas uses civilians.
An idea Netanyahu firmly rejected in his defiant address to the UN General Assembly last week.
Giving the Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after October 7th is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after September 11th. This is sheer madness. It's insane, and we won't do it.
The plan also fails to mention the West Bank, a clear flashpoint between the two sides as clashes worsen. From handing over of terror-free zones to deployment of the international stabilization forces, execution of the deal remains unclear, making it less viable. For President Trump, this is more than peace. His 20-point plan puts him alongside former UK PM Tony Blair at the helm of Gaza's transitional government overseeing reconstruction. What he calls a peace framework looks increasingly like a bid to take control of Gaza.
Turning attention now to the other wide-angle story on the show. Donald Trump is a man of contradictions, but he's also a man of deep hypocrisy. He preaches something to someone and does the complete opposite when it comes to himself. And no, I'm not even talking about the fact that India is penalized for buying Russian oil when the biggest purchaser is China and has been given yet another extension in tariff deadline by Donald Trump. I'm talking about Trump administration's repeated pampering of the agriculture sector. They are now going to get doleouts worth $35 billion, maybe up to $50 billion from two funds, from USDA's Commodity Corporation Fund and possibly even from the funds that have been collected by way of higher tariffs. Now, this could be $1,000 to $2,000 per person, even more, depending on how much do American farmers actually need. Now, let's understand this. American farmers make up 2% of the workforce. They get subsidies to the tune of billions of dollars. Compare that to India. They make up about 45% of the workforce. Revenues are stuck at 17% of the GDP, but there are rural women who are at the forefront of agriculture, particularly dairy farming, which is why this is so important. Now, when India says we need to protect our farmers in terms of keeping it out of a trade deal, suddenly Trump administration decides to penalize New Delhi for it. One must ask, farm subsidies in USA came in 1933. Yes, viewers, 1933. It has been continuing for over 9 decades later. One can ask how many times has the American economy grown since then? But why are they still there? Well, for the exact same reason that India protects its own farm sector. The social cost of uprooting and upheaval is much larger than what is made up in terms of removing these farm subsidies. And that is why calling out Trump's hypocrisy is so important. Listen in to what Donald Trump had to say about his favorite word in the dictionary, tariffs.
I love tariffs. Most beautiful word, but I'm not allowed to say that anymore. I said, tariff is my favorite word. I love the word tariff. You know, we're becoming rich as hell. My favorite word in the English dictionary is the word tariff. And people thought that was strange. And the fake news came over and they really hit me hard on it. They said, what about love? What about religion? What about God? What about wife, family? I got killed when I said tariff is my favorite word.
That is Hypocrisy 101, viewers, but there is, well, more drama in Trumpland as the US president is back on the attack, this time not against foreign enemies, but against America's own generals. This week saw Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth take on his own, mocking top military leaders, calling them fat and woke, as if physical appearance or diversity training is a greater threat than global instability. Even calling for a purge of Pentagon leadership, as if the armed forces were a reality TV show, not the spine of American defense. Listen in to what the Defense Secretary had to say, lecturing, preaching, and talking down to military veterans.
If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
Viewers, this is not about national security. Let's be very clear about it. It's not even about military readiness. It's about optics, weaponizing the image of the military to score political points. But let's ask the real question here. What exactly is the goal here? Replacing seasoned military commanders with those who passed Trump's loyalty test, substituting strategic expertise with political obedience. Because history shows us in vivid, bloody detail what happens when militaries become tools of one man's ego. Mocking generals for their weight or their values doesn't make the US safer. It just makes the message clearer that for Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, loyalty is above everything. Even respect for the nation and service comes a distant second. Well, viewers, the youth are rising. Gen Z, the first generation to have grown up in the internet age, has become the face of the anti-government protests across countries. In the global south, Nepal, Morocco, Madagascar, all of them. What's their superpower? Well, the digital world. Gen Z has managed to mobilize large movements using hashtags, AI-enhanced images, fast-paced videos, along with a healthy dose of sarcasm. This report decodes why is it that the Gen Z are rising and what exactly is their angst.
Young, tired, restless. Across continents, the youth or the Gen Z are rebelling. A new generation of protesters has burst into view, demanding justice, accountability, and a future worth staying for. In Nepal, frustration over corruption, nepotism, and broken promises boiled over. Streets filled with furious young protesters. Buildings torched, parliament stormed, a government toppled. The message? They will no longer tolerate corrupt leaders robbing them of their future. Thousands more poured into the streets in Morocco under the banner Gen Z 212. As anger grew over the government's choice to pump billions into building football stadiums for the 2030 FIFA World Cup, while the public suffers from the crumbling healthcare system. The result? Police stations burned down as police clashed with protesters, killing 2. In Madagascar, shortages lit the fuse. No water, no power, collapsing services. Youth, fed up with broken promises, rose in wave after wave, calling for system-wide change. While President Andry Rajoelina was forced to dissolve his government, he refuses to resign as protests rage on, which have killed 22 so far and left more than 100 injured. These movements share a new playbook. They are leaderless, digital, decentralized. They organize via Discord, TikTok, Instagram, memes, symbols, viral videos. They reject old politics even as they fight for real reform. But the road ahead is rough. Police crackdowns, clashes, arrests, lives lost. Public anger remains, but state power fights back hard. The challenge, turning rebellion into reform, transforming anger into policy. Across Asia, Africa, Latin America, Gen Z is no longer waiting on the sidelines, but taking charge. Governments may try to silence them, but a generation that has nothing to lose and everything to fight for cannot be suppressed. And the storm they've unleashed is only beginning.
Well, viewers, that's all the time we have in this edition of India Ascent. Thanks so much for watching.
If Lubasi was your son, you'd do anything to stop his suffering. He's in agony because he has an eye infection called trachoma. It's often spread by flies, like these. If Lubasi was your son, you'd take him to the doctor. But his parents can't afford to get him the care he so desperately needs. You can. When you give £2 a month to Sightsavers, you can help save more children from agony like this and spare their parents the pain of watching their children suffer. Every month, you'll help our eye doctors get to some of the world's poorest and most remote villages. It's so simple to treat trachoma, but we urgently need your support to do it. So please call 0800 038 4920, text Site10 to 82727, or go to sightsavers.tv to give £2 a month to Sightsavers right now.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000, whether it's for home improvements or for some of life's big moments. Evlo looks beyond your credit score and always takes a case-by-case approach. Visit evlo.co.uk to get your conditional decision in minutes.
When I woke up, they said, "Alyssa, you've got leukemia." We found out that the chemo wasn't working.
Cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK, but innovative new treatments could help beat cancer for more children like Alyssa.
I'm cancer-free now.
Text, call or search to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital. So together, we can save more lives.
I'm going to take a look at the back of your eye.
You can keep your eyes nice and wide. You'll be registered as sight impaired.
I help you.
When they diagnosed Remy, I remember asking, how am I going to create a life for her that she deserves?
I was just telling everybody else I was okay, and I just didn't know how to cope with it.
Initially, I felt really lost.
So if you...
That's when I contacted the RNIB.
Thank you, sir.
More than ever, I just feel seen and heard as a visually impaired person.
Remy deserves to do the same things as all the other children.
Sometimes you just need someone to guide you through it all.
Losing your sight shouldn't mean losing out on life. Leave a gift in your will to RNIB and help people with sight loss live the lives they want. Call 0800 8100 660 or search RNIB Will Guide.
Remember how the stars stole the night away.
Range that lasts up to 680 miles. Memories that last a lifetime. New Renault Austral full hybrid e-tech self-charging. New Renault Austral with 0% APR representative for £299 per month.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma, but so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pamelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 038 4926 and giving £1 a week to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 038 4926. Text C13 to 82727 or go online and give just £1 a week now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
Hey Sainsbury's, usual big shop. Can you save me a few quid?
Well, Wayne, try your Nectar prices.
My what?
Your Nectar prices. In your Nectar app, you'll find personalised discounts on up to 10 things you love. It's personalised to you, Wayne. Too personalised?
Yeah, just a touch.
Agreed, we'll stick to prices. Save every week with your Nectar prices. Sainsbury's, good food for all of us.
However you choose to say goodbye, we help you own it.
It was so painful to watch.
I sat there and I held her hand. She just went. Although people don't like to talk about it, but we're getting older, it has to be done.
Yeah, you got to have that conversation about wills.
Start to think about, well, what would I do? Where would I want to leave things?
Give more end-of-life care. Search Marie Curie Will Talk to get your free will guide.
Delegation that was sent to examine what happened in Karur. He has asked, why did the BJP not do the same for Manipur? All that and more coming up, but first up, the headlines. Delhi molester Baba in judicial custody till the 17th of October. Patiala House Court has sent Swami Chaitanyanand to judicial custody till the 17th of October. EC panel will visit Bihar for 2 days. EC meets central observers from Bihar. Several dead due to cough syrup in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Health Ministry has now issued an advisory to states. Health Ministry rules out impurities. Well, Union Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Kiran Rijiju has now taken on Congress leader and leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi for his comments made on cars and bikes. The minister has mocked Rahul over the comment that he has made yesterday in Colombia. Mr. Rijiju has said our nation's image is at stake here. He has also said that Indians have the reputation of being intelligent and the LOP needs to be more careful. Within India, it's fine, but in a foreign country, one needs to be mindful as our nation's image is at stake. That's what the Parliamentary Affairs Minister has said. Let's listen in to what he said.
In a motorcycle, when you have an impact, the engine is separated from you. So the engine doesn't hurt you. Whereas in a car, when you have an impact, the engine comes into the car. So the entire car is designed to stop the engine from killing you.
ऐसा अद्भुत मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग का ज्ञान दिया है कि हार्ले डेविडसन से लेकर टोयोटा तक और वॉक्सवैगन से लेकर फोर्ड तक बैठे हुए इंजीनियरों ने मेरे ख्याल से छाती पीटना शुरू कर दिया होगा कि इतना जबरदस्त ज्ञान कहां से आ गया है। बताइए साहब, वो ये बता रहे हैं कि वो डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन है। अरे मेरे भाई, कार 4 व्हीलर है, वो 2 व्हीलर है, 2 व्हीलर में जायरोस्कोप लगा हुआ होता। मुझे लगता हमारे जैसे अन्य भी जितने लोगों ने मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग में पीएचडी की होगी वो भी अपने को बहुत बौना समझ रहे होंगे राहुल गांधी जी के इस ज्ञान के आगे। और उसमें डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन वो बता रहे हैं, बिल्कुल साफ डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन होता है, मगर वो 4 व्हीलर है, वो 4 व्हील ड्राइव में डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन होता है, और वो 2 व्हील है। और वो कितना मजेदार बात बता रहे हैं कि साहब वो मोटर बाइक में जैसे ही एक्सीडेंट होता है इंजन अलग हो जाता है, मतलब लगता है जैसे कोई नट बोल्ट से जुड़ा हुआ हो। ये वैसे ही भाव है जैसे वो सोच रहे हैं भारत में ये अलग हो जाएगा, वो अलग हो जाएगा, फला अलग हो जाएगा, ढिमा अलग हो जाएगा।
Moving on to the top political story today, Congress leader Udit Raj has sparked a controversy by comparing Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Ravan, even as the country celebrated the festival of Dashera. He said that Prime Minister is a symbol of modern-day Ravan, and he warned that his golden palace will burn down. The BJP has hit back, claiming that the party leaders, the Congress party leaders, are hallucinating. The party also claimed that the real Ravans are in the Congress party. Now, the Congress party says that insults from such as Balak Buddhi to Pappu imageries, it is the BJP that has often insulted its leadership. So who is at fault here, and does this language even matter to voters anymore, or they think all of this is just normal? That is what we discuss in the course of the next few minutes. We will be joined by a panel of guests, but first let's take a look at some reactions.
अभी मोदी जी आधुनिक रावण के सिंबल हैं, और जिस तरह से अपने सोने का महल बना रहे हैं और जिसमें जाने वाले उसी के वो सोने का महल जलेगा।
रावणाचा आज अंत करायचा आहे। नेहमी रावणाचं दहन होतं, आता या पावसामध्ये रावणाचं दहन कसं करायचं? रावणाला जाळायचं की रावणाला बुडवायचा, हा विचार करावा लागेल। या मुंबईमध्ये पाऊस आहे, या मुंबईमध्ये रावणाला बुडवायचा आणि दिल्लीतल्या रावणाला जाळायचा। माननीय उद्धव साहेबांनी शस्त्रपूजा केलेली आहे। शस्त्रपूजा करण्याचा अधिकार हा माननीय हिंदुहृदय सम्राट बाळासाहेब ठाकरे यांच्या शिवसेनेचा आहे।
वो जितने भी प्रकार के अपशब्दों का प्रयोग करें, प्रधानमंत्री जी को कितना भी छोटा साबित करने का प्रयास करें, उससे प्रधानमंत्री जी के व्यक्तित्व की गरिमा पर असर नहीं पड़ता। और अपने को कितना भी महान दिखाने का प्रयास करें, उनकी लघुता में गुरुता नहीं दिखेगी। भगवान कृष्ण को इतना बड़ा पर्वत उठाने वाला गिरधर कहिए या छोटी सी मुरली उठाने वाला मुरलीधर, आप बड़े से छोटा भी करने का प्रयास करिए तो महिमा नहीं बदलती। और जो राहुल गांधी और कांग्रेस पार्टी अपने को कहती है कि साहब ये विदेश में जाकर ये हम बोल रहे हैं, वो बोल रहे हैं राहुल गांधी, तो उनके लिए कहते हूं बड़े बड़ाई ना करें और बड़े न बोलें बोल, और रहीमन हीरा कब कहे लाख टका मेरा मोल। मगर ये खानदान का हीरा है या कुछ और है, ये मैं आप लोगों के विवेक पे छोड़ता हूं।
We're joined by Congress leader Udit Raj now, the man who has stoked this controversy. We're also joined by Aparajita Sarangi. She's an MP from the BJP. And we have Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. Thank you all of you for being part of this broadcast. Udit Raj, to you first. Sir, criticism is fine, but Ravan is a demon. He's a symbol of all evils. He abducted a woman. The whole world knows that. When you compare a 3-term elected head of a state with a demon like Ravan, how will you justify that comparison, sir?
See, Ravan has had so many evils and disqualifications, and some of evils are resembling to what Modi ji is doing. You see, the way that demonetization was done in the country and bad GST, it disturbed the economy. And not only that, of course, opposition is targeted by all agencies, but not only opposition, but in the party itself, that only 2 people speak and the rest of them are dominated. The person who is proud is not ready to listen to anyone. What does it mean? In 1945, a cartoon was made where Golwarkar and Samarthad Mukherjee and Savarkar and Samarthad Mukherjee are aiming at Gandhiji, Subhash Chandra Bose and Patel, and that cartoon it was portrayed. So what happened? In 1945, when the country was not free at that time, there was so much of expression, of freedom of expression, that it could allow, and they can do anything. They could do even to Gandhiji also. Who are they? They are the forefathers, they are the guardian, they are mentor of Gandhiji. Sorry.
Right. Udit Raj, sir, I'll come back to you. Let me take one reaction from the BJP spokesperson.
And it's a symbol.
Okay, got it. Aparajita Sarangi, the Congress says that these are just words to drive home a point, not an abuse, and that in a democracy all of this cannot be silenced. Your response?
A very good evening. I start with a quote. To every action of Prime Minister Modi, there is an equal and opposite negative reaction from the Congress and Congress's allies. It's extremely unfortunate that Congress has been behaving like this all through, and let me tell you that I have come today with the list of abuses that they have hurled over the Prime Minister over the past so many number of years. Now here is the list I wish I could share with you. There are 128 abuses in this booklet. What, who and when, all these are here. So I think they are a frustrated lot. Rahul Gandhi ji has been spearheading elections, and in every election he is losing. About 90 times they have lost over a period of time in the last couple of years. So I think because of their frustration, because of their despondency, all these abuses are coming out of their mouth. And I'm really aghast. Suppose a person like Udit Raj ji speaks like this, the High Command should take cognizance immediately and reprimand the person concerned. How is it possible? I remember, in fact, you know, in 2007, Maut Ka Saudagar by Sonia Gandhi. 2017, Neech Admi by Mani Shankar Iyer. And every time this happens, Sri Mallikarjun Kharge also does not actually, you know, prevent himself from hurling abuses. So who actually takes cognizance? Who will take cognizance if the High Command and the President of the party are themselves engaged in this kind of, I would say, this kind of hobby persuasion? Okay. I will call this a favorite hobby of the Congress. Okay. They are very fond of hurling abuses at Prime Minister Modi, knowing fully well, knowing fully well that 3 times he has won the mandate, and again, there is absolutely no alternative in the country. There is no denying the fact that he is one of the most popular leaders of the world, and still in the country, 3rd time, he enjoys tremendous credibility among people. Okay. So I think these people are talking like this because they are a frustrated lot.
Right. Even politically speaking, Udit Raj, when you use metaphors like Ravan, the whole point of criticism that you wanted to make gets lost because people might end up focusing on that part of your conversation, right? So isn't it in some ways really counterproductive?
I think if it is visible, see, this cartoon was made by whom? And Hegdewar and
there's no problem with freedom of expression. And you have the right to say what you want. But when you talk about what you said,
aiming at Gandhi ji, Subhash Chandra Bose ji, and Patel ji. See what happened. I'm very disappointed that Aparajita ji, an IAS officer, and doesn't know that is the way to express. So it's expression, not abuse. And the language of abuse is always used by BJP and of course Prime Minister himself, the way he has addressed, he has used so many words. And of course on television also they are using such a filthy language and abuses, which I have not done. This is an, of course, symbol of expression.
Let me ask a question to Aparajita before I go to Tehseen.
analogy and comparison.
Right. Udit Raj, the Congress spokesperson, saying that the
I'm very surprised that
BJP also uses a lot of these words. In fact, the Congress has written 5 times to the Home Minister in the last few weeks, saying that some spokesperson from Kerala, BJP spokesperson from Kerala, has also been issuing death threats to Rahul Gandhi. So, do you think it goes both ways, or do you think it's the Congress party that makes a lot of these abusive statements? Aparajita Sarangi.
The question for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. See, let me tell you that 2 wrongs do not make a right. They can't justify their stand. And I showed you a list of 128 abuses. They are with me at this juncture. And if you go through them, you feel ashamed that there is the opposition party of the country is led by them. Unfortunately, they are the opposition in the Lok Sabha. It's extremely shameful. Now, let me tell you, the leader of the opposition comes out and makes a PowerPoint presentation and moves around in the country and beyond the country and keeps on hurling abuses at the Prime Minister and his ways of functioning. But let me tell you, in the tirades of the Congress, there is utter absence of content. There is utter absence of argument, there is utter absence of logic, and there is utter absence of proof and evidence. Where is the proof? Where is the evidence?
Okay.
You go on saying things against the Prime Minister. I think every abuse of the Congress is strengthening the position of the Prime Minister.
It's a Prime Minister who does it.
Okay, Tehseen, let me come to you.
Not our High Command, not our leaders. It's Prime Minister who has been always hurling the abuses against the Congress and
you've been a Congress supporter.
Does
the Congress party believe in targeting the Prime Minister personally? Because, all of us as journalists also want to listen to criticism, but the fact is everything about governance becomes so personalized. Why does this happen repeatedly, and who does it help?
Thank you, Vasudha, for having me on the show. Thank you. Good evening to all my fellow panelists, to the NDTV viewers. There are 2 aspects to this. What the Honourable Present MP said about a list of 120 odd abuses about, hurled at the Honourable Prime Minister of India. I could also give you abuses like Jersey cow, Balak Buddhi, Italian Bachda, held at the most honorable leader of opposition by the BJP, some by the most honorable Prime Minister. In fact, Giriraj Singh ji said about Mrs. Gandhi that she wouldn't get a single vote if she would have been dark-skinned. It is because she's fair, Gaurie chamdi, that she gets vote, and no action was taken. May I also remind you of other abuses hurled at the Congress leadership. In fact, a Congress spokesperson on national TV was abused in such filthy language by a BJP national spokesperson. No action was taken. We saw against Colonel Sofia Qureshi, etc., and the BJP seldom takes action. But here's where I differ from the Congress. You see, in this political tutu-meme, the standard has fallen down everywhere. But in this political tutu-meme, when the Congress does it, as you rightly said, I would have today been on your show, we would have been discussing the economy or GST or issues in which we can actually slam the BJP because there's so many issues. It gets diverted to these issues that help the BJP win. Look, by abusing, the BJP MP is right, the Prime Minister is extremely popular. Yeah. People don't like abuses on the Prime Minister. People want to hear critique of the BJP. People want to hear criticism of the BJP. When you make it personal on the Prime Minister, the fact is the BJP gets an advantage. The fact is that becomes a topic of discussion. And it's not because media is godi or media is bad. It's just that if a Prime Minister is being targeted, it will be the topic of discussion. So if you have to target the Prime Minister, do it on issues where the Prime Minister has a weak record. Maybe the economy, maybe jobs, maybe whatever. You could do it on that in a more manner of gravitas. I have another point. The Congress is the party of Nehru, Gandhi, Maulana Azad. There are differences of opinion, but that differences of opinion is, again, in public domain with a lot of gravitas, with a lot of respect, done very democratically. When you do it in a manner as in to troll somebody, you're not holding the Congress legacy up. That's my personal opinion. I know people make it upset. So I think there's so much to slam the BJP on. Let's do it on that. Don't get personal with the Prime Minister. It won't even pay you political dividend.
Okay, Aparajita Sarangi, how would you respond to that, ma'am? Because the Congress party, before that, Udit Raj also pointed this out.
Yes.
Yeah. The fact that the BJP, the understanding or the narrative of the BJP...
I agree with Mr. Poonawalla. Yeah. See, yeah.
No, ma'am, I was asking you that
I agree with Mr. Poonawalla to the extent
turns every
that
attack on governance on the Prime Minister as an insult to his caste, his origins, also the nation. Do you think that is something that is also catching people's imagination?
See, every abuse by the Congress boosts the popularity of Prime Minister Modi. I think we must acknowledge and appreciate this fact. Every election and Prime Minister Modi and his party is the winner. Why so? Because, you know, people, the voters reward dignity. The voters punish arrogance. The voters punish this kind of expression of frustration, despondency and ill will. I think people are very smart. The voters are very smart. They know what's what. See, what we expect from the Congress, as far as the leader of opposition is concerned, he can speak anything and everything against Prime Minister Modi and his policies and the quality of implementation of his policies within the Lok Sabha and outside the Lok Sabha and within the boundaries of the country. We agree to that. There is absolutely no denying the fact that that is in his job chart. He should be doing that. But then, you know, when we say these things, there has to be maryada. We cannot cross the Lakshman Rekha. Extremely important. And two wrongs do not make a right, I reiterate. All of us are bound by that particular, you know, Lakshman Rekha we all need to respect, whether it is this party or that party. But then, you know, calling the Prime Minister the most popular person in the country and one of the most popular leaders in the world as a Ravan, I think this is demeaning yourself. This shows what kind of sanskar you have. Okay. You can't just stoop to that level, and this is extremely, I think this hurts the people of the country because they have chosen the Prime Minister. Right. They have chosen Prime Minister Modi to sit in that chair. Right. And it is basically not hurling abuses of the Prime Minister, it is hurting the sentiments of people who have voted for him.
Okay, closing remarks, Yasin, very quickly your closing remarks.
Look, may I request the Honourable Member of Parliament, in this, instead of this tutu meme, if the Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Leader of Opposition can sit for a cup of chai and we have a roadmap in our politics where we don't cross a certain rekha. The MP is right, that there are personal attacks on the Prime Minister. But then Balak Buddhi on the most Honourable Leader of Opposition, or regularly targeting him as Pappu, or using names that are not required, or even the sarcasm about a member of parliament when she laughed in parliament, though the Prime Minister did not take the name or say anything, but the inference to that. So I am saying let us have a certain decorum in national politics, and the Prime Minister being as popular as he is, if he can show us the path. For starters, if your BJP MP who abused a Congress spokesperson with the most filthy language, if you could take action, he's not even a big spokesperson of yours. Or, you know, the minister who called Colonel Sofia Qureshi Atangwadi ki beti. At least stand up for that. If you all do it, the others will be forced to follow. You all are the governing party. Okay. There's a lot of respect the Prime Minister commands. Let him lead with actions. And then the opposition can also follow. Okay. But why don't you all take the lead? Why does it have to be a hit for...
Do you think political leadership on both sides need to be far more mindful of what their spokespersons say? Because sometimes it's also very difficult to monitor who's saying what, right? So, I mean, I don't know how parties like the BJP or even the Congress would even be able to do something like that. Aparajita Sarangi.
Yes, we want the Congress to engage with us as far as, you know, issues are concerned, as far as policies are concerned, the quality of implementation of policies are concerned. I think these are the areas where they should focus on. Please take us to the dock.